As mentioned, my name is Philip Lafrance, and it is very much my pleasure to talk to you today about Canada's quantum technology ecosystem and some of the opportunities for collaboration we have before us. So first thing, let me tell you a little bit about my organization, Quantum Industry Canada. We are Canada's premier business-led industry consortium of quantum technology companies and strategic partners. Our mission, as it says here, is to translate Canadian quantum strengths and capabilities into global business success, national prosperity, and resilience. And here, by resilience, we mean several things. We mean economic resilience, we mean national security, and we mean supply chain resilience, and more. And to be very clear here, when I say quantum technologies, I mean all of the technologies underneath the umbrella of quantum. When you think of Canada, you don't think of a singular quantum technology. We have expertise across all of them. Everything from quantum computing, so full stack quantum computing, software, hardware, algorithms, quantum materials, simulators, quantum networking. So this is all the quantum communications, post-quantum cryptography, quantum key distribution. We have expert leadership across various modalities of quantum sensing. RF sensors, inertial sensors, LiDAR, gravimeters, magnetometers, and more. Enabling technologies. So these subsystems are the components that come together and are integrated to build larger quantum systems. These are things like control electronics, photonics, down to cryogenics, and we have some companies over here. And then there are the applications and services. So the things that themselves might not necessarily be quantum, but they use quantum in some way. So they leverage quantum software, quantum platforms, or professional services, for example, to help your organization adopt quantum, post-quantum cryptography, become quantum ready. Wrong direction. There we go. So QIC is a membership-based organization. Currently, we have around 80 different organizations across our different membership tiers. Now, as I mentioned on the previous slide, we have this expertise across all of those different quantum verticals. And one of the powerful consequences of that diversity in our ecosystem is it means there's more opportunities for collaboration. The more entities there are in a system, the more things there are to engage with. So this could be technology partnerships, R&D, co-development, down to investment or supply chain agreements, market access agreements, and more. And I'll talk more about that later on. Here's a resource we're building, the Canadian Quantum Sector Pitch Book. Really what this is it's a public-facing resource for people like yourselves to learn more about the entities in our community. Who are they? What are they building? What are they trying to achieve? And how can you get engaged with them? You can access it, obviously, through the QR code we have here. You can go to quantumpitchbook.ca, or you can go to the quantumindustrycanada.ca website and find it from there. I will say we are still building this resource. We are still adding new organizations on a regular basis, so expect this to be enhanced and deepened over time. We also publish Canada's leading quantum digest. This is a roughly monthly newsletter called Quantum A, pronounced the stereotypical Canadian way. And really, this is a collection of news items, curated insights, and information about the state of our quantum economy. This newsletter really plays a powerful role in informing decision makers across government, investment, strategic partners, the media, or the general public about the state of our lovely quantum technology sector. Quantum Industry Canada is also a founding member of the International Council of Quantum Industry Associations, the ICQIA. Now, our members are domestic quantum technology associations, so of course, individually, we advocate for quantum domestically. But together, we can advocate at a global scale. So international governance, intergovernmental policy. We can combine our voices to talk about the issues that cross borders. For example, advocating to the G7 to recognize quantum as a joint strategic priority. So by coming together, we can identify the common barriers that we share, and we can elevate that to the policy conversations that transcend borders. And very proudly, in May of this year, the ICQIA had 2 new members join us. One is UK Quantum, the United Kingdom's Industry Association, and the other is the Korea Quantum Industry Association. So it's a little belated, but personally I would like to extend a very warm welcome to KQIA, to the ICQIA. You very much strengthen our overall voice, and of course, by being a member, it creates more formal opportunities for us to collaborate. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Canada now. Canada has been playing the quantum game for a long time. We've been at this for decades, before most countries were at all interested. And over that time, we had strategic investment from public sources, from private sources, and this led to the creation of these globally recognized quantum hubs, these quantum centers of excellence, if you will. And it's also what gave us a head start in having leadership across those different technology verticals I mentioned earlier. Now, something you should know about our sector is we are very rapidly moving from the lab to the field. We're going from R&D to commercialization. Canada has a lot of strategic incentives right now to move towards the marketplace. For example, our our defense industrial strategy has named quantum as a strategic sovereign capability, and so there's a lot of incentives now for us to head towards the industrialization and commercialization. To be clear, we don't deprioritize R&D. There's always more R&D to do, and that is a large reason why we came here for this mission here to beautiful Seoul. But nonetheless, we are looking to head to the market. If you only consider companies that are headquartered in Canada, so Canadian-controlled, owned, and operated companies, we have more than 112, it might be closer to 120, companies working in quantum domestically. And when you include foreign companies that have a legal entity in Canada, the number goes well past 150. So this means Canada is #1 for the amount of small-medium enterprises globally per capita working in quantum. If you look at in absolute value, so the full numbers, we're actually #2 in the world, right behind the USA. Similarly, per capita, if you look at the size of our quantum workforce, we are in the top 3, at least as of December 2025. Okay, I like this slide because quantum technologies are often described as the deepest of deep tech. And deep tech is something notoriously difficult, expensive, and time-consuming to research, develop, and eventually commercialize. Nonetheless, Canadian companies are doing exactly that. So if you look at this pie chart, you'll see that we have roughly equal proportions of companies that are between 2 and 5 years old, 5 and 10 years old, or older than 10 years. But what I think is really interesting is about 1/8 of our companies are actually under 2 years old. So that really shows you how rapidly our sector is expanding. Okay, let's talk about how quantum is distributed in Canada. I think this is very quantum of us because we are very distributed, but we're highly localized. So we have coast-to-coast quantum, but it is localized in these 4 different, what you can call, quantum centers of excellence. So these are where you find those high concentrations of startups, of hubs and incubators and universities and research institutes and maybe a manufacturing or packaging and things like that. So these very highly localized ecosystems distributed across the country, but they're also highly connected amongst them. So in Quebec here, #4, we might have some companies headquartered there, but they also have presence in the other hubs. So very distributed, but also highly localized. This is a fun talking point because many people don't realize just how big Canada is. If you strictly look at our geography, we're about 100 times larger than South Korea. Now, I wouldn't recommend you live in most of those areas, not habitable, but about 100 times bigger. Our population is around 40 million people, whereas yours is maybe a little over 50. So not tremendously different, but our population density is about 4 people per square kilometer, and yours is about 520, as I understand, so very meaningfully different. And I only say this because it means that Canada has very different things we need to consider when we're, say, building our infrastructure, or even when we're mobilizing our domestic industry. Canadians are very used to traveling long distances just to meet and see other Canadians. In fact, coming on a mission here like this is an opportunity for Canadians to meet and engage with each other. So, of course, the flight to beautiful Seoul was very long. It was maybe not as long as you might expect it to have been. Okay, so a quick recap of Canada's quantum value proposition to the world. So full stack quantum computing strength. That's that leadership across all of those different quantum verticals I mentioned earlier. We have a strong industrial base. So that's that collection of small, early stage SMEs, all the way down to globally recognized companies that have already translated their research excellence into market-ready products. And again, some of them are over here. World-class talent pipeline. We have excellent, deeply connected academic ecosystems, often supported by our government friends, and we produce world-class quantum experts, engineers, and researchers that are really highly sought after around the world. We are collaborative by design. You don't solve this alone. We recognize that we need these diverse stakeholders: academia, defense, government, industry, investors, strategic partners. We bring them all together to collaborate towards achieving our mutual goals of establishing our industry. And a strategic global partner. I'll say this from my own perspective. Canada very much prides itself on being seen as a trusted global partner. This is a reputation we work very hard to earn, and a reputation we work very hard to maintain. Okay. In the last part of my talk, I'm going to talk a little bit about the relationship in quantum between Canada and Korea and some of the potential opportunities before us. First, we're not starting from zero. We already have very warm relationships with Korea. So in fact, is there a light here? It doesn't matter. So in fact, Quantum Industry Canada, we had our flagship conference last year in Montreal called Quantum Now, and we brought a very large delegation of Korean companies there to meet and engage with Canadian companies. My understanding is many of those meetings went very well and are still producing fruit today, so that's very nice to see. Also last year, Quantum Industry Canada participated in APEC and surrounding meetings. So down here you see a picture of my now former CEO, Lisa Lambert, and Greg Dick, the CEO of Open Quantum Design, sitting right over there. Hello, Greg. And you can see they were participating in talks and panels here. In fact, Canada's Prime Minister, you see at top, was also here at these meetings. And then off to the side here, again, you see Greg and Lisa with our lovely friends from the Korea Quantum Industry Association. So we already have very nice relationships. We just want to strengthen and expand. Now, as I've hinted at, we are here on a trade mission. If you include Quantum Industry Canada, we have brought around 13 cutting-edge quantum companies here to meet and engage with our Korean counterparts. If you follow this QR code, you will be taken to a pitch book that we put together with our friends from Canada's Trade Commissioner Service and the National Quantum Strategy Secretariat to tell you much more about these companies. Alternatively, they're right there, and I highly recommend you go talk to them, engage them, and maybe get a physical copy of this pitch book. Because all good business, all good relationship building happens when you're talking to somebody face to face. So highly encourage you to go visit my friends there. And I am going slightly faster than I intended. I don't think this upsets anyone, so this will be my last slide. Here, I'm going to talk about some of the opportunities for collaboration. And to be clear, there are some things I won't talk about. I will leave those to my friends from government to talk about. So I won't be discussing bilateral agreements or defense agreements or metrology challenges and so on and so on. I'm going to talk about what industry can do. And there are really three main things. We can collaborate, connect first. We can connect, we can collaborate, and then commercialize. And connecting is exactly what we're doing now. We're bringing each other together, we're talking to each other, we're learning each other's strengths, we're learning where we can complement each other, we're learning where, by working together, we can build something that is greater than the sum of its parts. Collaborate. This can take many, many forms. It can be joint research, joint development, co-development of products. Personally, I'm a big fan of doing collaborative research and then maturing that and bringing it to international standards bodies for proposals. So joint research between Canada and Korea could be proposed as the international norms in quantum. I think there is tremendous opportunity there. There is a lot of room to talk there. But there's more. We can talk about supply chain resiliency. We can talk about component manufacturing and distribution. We can talk about making new test beds, new architectures. We can talk about pilot projects. So working together to discover new use cases and see what else might be possible by working together. And then we have commercialization, the ultimate goal of the joint R&D and research between us. This is bringing our technology into enterprises. This is market adoption. This is bringing the very best of Canadian and Korean innovation to the global stage together. So, to conclude, I will say that Canada and Korea both have some very, very unique strengths that are very, very difficult to replicate. And they're highly complementary strengths. So by working together, those strengths can come together and make something even greater. So my very obvious proposition is we do exactly that. Let's work together, let's combine our strengths, and let's bring our excellence to the global stage together. So with all of that said, my name is still Philip Lafrance. It has still been my pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for your time and attention today.